Hello. The RTB is the public body responsible for publishing reliable data on the rental sector. Our quarterly data helps landlords, tenants and policymakers to understand current trends in Ireland's rental market. This week, we published the Q1 2024 Rent Index and shared preliminary findings from a new individual property level analysis. Both studies are based on RTB private tenancy registration data that is independently analysed by the Economic and Social Research Institute. The ESRI is known for producing high-quality, independent research to inform policy. These studies track and tell us very different things about Ireland's rental sector. While many people believe the Rent Index can tell us if landlords are complying with rent pressure zone rules, in this video, our Senior Research Officer, Brian Galway, will explain how only the individual property level analysis can answer this question.
Let's begin by looking at the quarterly RTB Rent Index. This tracks price developments in the Irish rental sector over time. It provides two separate rent indices. The first, a new tenancies rent index, and the second, an existing tenancy rent index. The rent index compares the standardised average rent for tenancies that commenced in one quarter with a similar but not identical group of tenancies in the previous quarter and in the same quarter 1 year before. As the tenancies are different in every quarter, the rent index cannot track changes in rent paid for individual properties. This means that although the rent index provides the best overall picture of the average rent levels in Ireland, it cannot tell us if landlords are complying with rent pressure zone rules. Now let's look at the new individual property level analysis and how it differs. The RTB asked the ESRI to conduct an additional study to help us understand if landlords are complying with RPZ rules. Unlike the rent index, which compares similar but not identical samples of properties to track trends over time, the property level analysis tracks properties individually over time. By tracking changes for individual properties over time, we can see if rent increases are within rent pressure zone limits. So what do both studies tell us about rent increases and how do they compare? Let's take the example of Dublin. The existing tenancies rent index shows the standardised average rent rose by 5.2% in Q1 2024, while the individual property level analysis says that the rents rose by an average of 1.3% for the existing tenancies that it tracked. To understand why the existing tenancies rent index suggests a higher rate of increase, we need to look at what is in the sample for this index. As we said earlier, it tracks price changes for a similar but different group of tenancies renewed in each quarter. In every quarter, many tenancies move from the new tenancy sample to the existing tenancy sample. So, after 1 year as a new tenancy, a new build that came onto the market at a higher rate could now move into the existing tenancy's rent index sample. From the individual property level analysis, we know that approximately 30% of tenancies in the existing tenancy's rent index in Q1 2024 were new tenancies 1 year before. When large numbers of new tenancies with higher rents move into the existing tenancy sample, this can push up the standardised average rent, even though we know from the individual property level analysis that nationally 74% of properties in the existing tenancy sample will still only have seen an increase of 2% or less.
Thank you for watching. We hope this video helps to explain the difference between these two studies. If you have any further questions, please contact research@rtb.ie.